Hello everybody. My name is Trey Smith, and today I will be breaking down my presentation to you, which is based off my cultural research paper. So, for my research, I actually did the movie NWA, and I chose to do this one because I am half black, half white, and I also thought this was a great movie choice because I like music, and it takes place in Compton, California, which is where my dad also grew up. A lot of the issues that were faced in this, as I keep repeating this, and I always mention that I keep repeating it, but it's communication. It's the second word in intercultural communication, and I really do believe that that is the key to having a successful intercultural relationship. Throughout the movie, it was mostly black and white people having problems, but to be more specific, I would say black people and white cops who were kind of corrupt and a little bit racist. Movie took place in the 1980s. And one thing I want to mention before we get into it is on top of having intercultural problems, there was also problems within the black community itself. There was gang violence. My dad grew up there. He grew up there and he was really fighting for survival every day, even though he wasn't in a gang or anything like that. So, and then the crack epidemic was also affecting the black community as well. So the intercultural relationships on top of that was just a mess. But it's a group of artists or rappers, and they all are basically getting together to communicate and express their thoughts in a creative manner, which is gangster rap to them, or just music is how I would describe it. The first ideology I really wanted to bring up is how the movie affected everyone. I believe that the movie has created a better place today before I get into exactly everything. They made a hit song, F the Police, as you may have heard, and this was really them trying to voice and communicate to the rest of society how it felt to be black in the 1980s, and you were really just being put down, and you had a hard time even walking around the streets. A lot of ways they had problems that were nonverbal, was just looks, and then it got to the point to where when you see somebody and you keep having a reoccurring problem, and in this case the example would be white people and black people, you naturally start to gravitate towards negative feelings, and that just pushes you away from them. So it's going to be hard for you to have a conversation with them that's unbiased, or you don't have some type of feelings of malice or hate towards them. It demonstrates pure real life examples of how you could use communication to get your point across properly. And one thing that I really did love about this music, or this, sorry, not this music, about this other than music, is that the issues that occurred in here, they applied to history before the movie, and it applies to our modern day era. And a similar example today is the Black Lives Matter movement, in which George Floyd went through the incident. He was killed by a white cop, so it kind of divided the country, and it brought a lot of, I don't want to say activists, but I guess you could kind of say activists to the forefront to try and promote positive change and help communicate more effectively in intercultural relationships. But as I mentioned before, it also kind of backfired because you start to take out that negativity on everyone else, which, as we read in Nakayama, that's not something you should really do. Straight Outta Compton. I also wanted to mention Straight Outta Compton did lightly cover some misogyny that I read in an article by GQ, and I didn't really perceive. So they had some lyrics that referred to women in a very negative manner. And I don't truly think that they think of women like that. I don't think they're like real misogynists and they just think they're better than all women. I think that was kind of the era of music they were making, and that's how that applied to that. But to kind of help communicate that, you really just gotta like respect one another, to be honest. You gotta respect one another and be able to talk to them. But back into my other point, in which some of the black people, like Eazy-E, he would see a white person and likely would not want to talk to them, or would start saying harsh words and produce some vile language. He met Keller, who was his manager, and that was one of the few if not the only white person in the movie that he actually trusted. He trusted Keller, and then sadly Keller actually ended up using his money. So then that just ruined the relationship right there. And oftentimes I found out that a lot of either black or white people started distancing themselves so they wouldn't have to interact with each other, as we talked about in the book. It was boundary maintenance. They exemplified a lot of boundary maintenance. Sometimes they would antagonize, so I guess that'd be the opposite of boundary maintenance. But overall, I guess one way we can learn from this to effectively communicate is to just go into a situation with as minimal bias as possible, and just take a person for who they are, not for their race or whatever culture they're from or their background. Take what they present to you, and they're either a nice person, a good person, or they're not a good person as an individual. That shouldn't affect the rest of their group. But other than that, that's all I got for you. Thank you very much.